Alright, folks, we are having a crazy thunderstorm here today. So people are going out on the balcony to experience the thunder snow. So let me turn on the camera so you can see what's going on. Let's see if that makes it any better. I'm going to open that. There was some lightning before. Yeah. Pretty wild.
Thunder and lightning, very, very frightening me.
We are live, by the way.
All right. Hello, everyone. We got slightly distracted by the thunder snow.
Lightning and thunder snow.
Because DC in the springtime is just for when you can't quite decide whether that's small hail or sleet. Or both, or it's all just like one insane thing.
But it was cool. And so if it was still going on, we would have delayed the stream more because thunder, lightning, snowstorms don't happen that often. We're live every week, as we've been for far too long. But, you know, thunder snows, not so much. And thunder, lightning snows. So that said, welcome. Time for another update. So a couple quick notes. Note number one, we are still working towards a weekend test. We do have one major issue that we're looking at, which is a problem with the AMD cards. We saw that in the last test. We've got George looking at it right now. Maybe we get a fix, most likely not. So if you folks come in with AMD cards, expect bad things to happen. We'll put a warning, of course, on the test in the email, which will still be ignored by some people. But hey, at least we told you guys, don't come in if you have that card, or one of those cards.
And what should people expect to see in the test if they do get in?
Oh, I don't know exactly yet. We'll certainly, at a minimum, new abilities. Yay.
Ability builder turned on.
Ability builder turned on. Yep.
You know, very, very placeholder dev UI for it. The UI team's working on the real one. You know, we kind of do prototype, like just GeoCities 1996 level UI prototypes from like the gameplay team, and then the UI team builds a pretty one after. So that's what you'll see for the ability builder. But
yep.
You will be able to make abilities.
Indeed. We are looking at things now to see exactly what test we're going to run. So, you know, we'll get an update for us certainly today. We'll know before we leave whether we're going to run a test this weekend.
Right.
Second thing.
One caveat to that. There are classes in there that have the names of mages. Do not read too much about anything into any of the abilities or stats on those. Just, it is a thing that has a name, but it's not the thing.
I'm not quite sure what he's talking about, actually. What are you talking about?
I don't know.
Okay, good.
I don't see any of that.
Good. Okay, so, hey, with that, because I'm not 100% sure. Actually, I'm not 100% sure what is in there for mages right now, because I didn't ask Ben beforehand. So, yeah, hey, this is a good way to start. A little bit of confusion. Always fun. It was the thunder snow. It got us all worked up. The second thing is that overall, what are we up to? 16 items on the update, so there are a lot of things to go through. We will try to go through them relatively quickly, and then have a shortish Q&A because Andrew's needed on the code side, especially if we want to have any chance of getting a test this weekend, and it looks like the sun may be coming out a little bit now. So yeah, this is one of those very weird days here. So before we go out, start with the top 10. turning it over to Mr. Meggs to make, I don't know if this counts as a PSA, unless you mean a personal, sacrificial announcement. Oh, that's clever. Go ahead.
Okay, so 15 years ago, there was this game that I worked on, and it didn't do very well. May have been released on the same day as Half-Life 2 with no marketing. And, but over time, the game aged better than I'd have, honestly. And this morning, Rock Paper Shotgun actually called it the greatest cult game of the last 20 years, which I thought was a nice thing. And it's getting a sequel. So Vampire Bloodlines 2 was announced late last night, early this morning. So hype, really. One of a good friend of mine is who, from the original Vampire team is one of the leads. I have great confidence. These are people that I occasionally go drink with when I'm out in Seattle. It's one of the least well-kept secrets in the game industry, but now it's finally announced. So please check it out when it launches sometime after CU. We're gonna,
yeah,
check it. Really, it's a. I am so excited for this game, and I am so excited for the people who are working on it that they can finally talk about it. So, yay, Vampire Bloodlines 2 is a title that is obviously near and dear to my heart.
So yeah, that again, sacrificial announcement made by Mr. Meggs, and let's get started with the top 10-ish or 16. So new siege scenario. As you folks have heard, we have been working on this for a little bit, thanks to the wonderful folks at the Builders Brigade. We're working on a little building, just teeny tiny, only about 9 million blocks. Yeah, 9 million blocks is way more than we've ever tested in one building for building destruction. We've been running lots and lots of tests. Andrew's, of course, making his usual effort on making building destruction or anything he actually works on look better, perform better. Got other folks involved as well, of course, and that is one of the two things that we need to get that scenario up and running. But it is kind of cool. We've got new siege weapons, or new siege weapon, in there, the magic mortars. We're odding it up to make it look good. We're working on lighting. We're working on so many things to try to give you a siege scenario that actually feels like the kind of siege scenarios we have been planning on. This is the
big one.
The big one. Yeah. Think of this as the big one, but version 0.1 of it, because we're going to get a lot of earnings, of course, from doing this with lots of people and lots of our arcs. But we're also going to get design learnings from it that are just not about building destruction or the actual code. It will be, design things. And it is 01 because it doesn't include what I've been working on, which I'll talk about a little later. So, Andrew, you want to do number 2 since it's an ATI thing?
Yeah, well, I think Mark pretty much covered it. We've been tracking down some AMD issues with AMD cards, not processors, but specifically Radeons. Still have not nailed that down. George is making progress and looking into it. It's better, but not fixed. So we will, anyone with an AMD Radeon card in the test this weekend, I'm sorry. Hopefully it will be fixed, come Monday. But we gotta lock the build sometime.
And you folks saw that the last time this issue came up, we very quickly went to work on it, had a patch which got a bunch of you in, and so yeah, we're going to do the same thing here. Even though our focus has been and continues to be NVIDIA, anytime we see something that makes it so you folks with other cards can't come in, we're going to treat it in the same way we've treated the last one and others, which is to immediately get on it. Number 3, design item, work in progress. More abilities, more classes. So Ben has been working hard to flesh out the designs for features that support future classes, as well as balance ability parts and support the team as we build the remaining ability parts out. So lots of good stuff there, as Andrew said. There are things that are absolutely work in progresses. Do not, when you go into the test, whether it's this weekend or next weekend, please don't go in there thinking, oh my God, this is final or close to final. This has been first drafting it with abilities being created by Anthony as his personal ability Padawan, creating whatever he needs. So I expect there to be issues. I expect there, whether they're design or programmatic errors. We've got a very complicated system, and it's super powerful, which means there are going to be some really interesting bugs that will come out of it.
Interesting interactions.
Interactions, emergent behavior.
Yes.
Bugs.
And then the ability system became self-aware.
That's true. That could happen.
I mean, possibly, you know, if you put just the right skill parts together, it becomes Skynet.
That's true.
What would be the class with that skill?
Oh, the Terminator class.
Okay.
I mean, that was too easy. Okay, go ahead. Hit the next one. Hit the next 2 if you want.
Yeah, one of the most... so, world map. And this is like one of the most confusing phrases in meetings and on task lists, because someone will say map and it's like, well, do they mean like, you know, the actual zone? Because like all the level designers always call that the map, and or, you know, are we talking about, oh, the global world map? That's no, this is the actual map, like the piece of paper that your character unrolls and looks at, that you know, is an in-game map of the world, which, you know, shows points of like what have you yourself seen, what points have like the scouts that you're allied with reported to you. And this is a really important part of just like how information is and is not presented to you. So, you know, it's kind of a focus on incomplete information and the current state of your knowledge. And so, you know, design is progressing on that. It's gonna be fun times.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to do the next? And I'll take,
sure.
I'll take the one after that.
So just ongoing work on more and more ability parts, fixing bugs, you know, finding problems where things do not quite work the way they did. You know, there was an awesome bug this morning where you know, the fire a siege weapon ability didn't check whether you were dead. So that got fixed.
Would have been more awesome if you actually, because you were dead, you were used as ammo. But hey, that's another thing.
Yeah, so you could kill you could kill somebody, and they could, if they were standing next to the siege engine, their corpse could still fire. But those kinds of things, that's just lots and lots of just I's to dot, T's to cross. Oh, this one has like a cooldown that's 10 times too big or too small, etc. And also a big pass on hooking up more and more VFX to them is ongoing.
So for me, the next one is obviously the most personal item, Sieges and More. So continuing what I was working on last week with prototyping the Siege, some of the Siege system, and laying out all sorts of information for the engineers, which I just turned over 10 minutes ago, as a matter of fact. So they now have my 6-page help guide to the spreadsheets and JavaScript code, which of course will not be in the game, thank God, or actually thank Andrew, because if I tried to put that code in there, he'd shoot me. But it's kind of useful. It's allowing me to really prototype things very nicely, to experiment with things, to you know, really do all the lovely stuff that you can do when you can, you know, do some coding and at the same time work in spreadsheets. So,
well, you know, like you say that, but actually, like, my end goal for where I'd love to see this engine end up would be that you could just come in and plop in some JavaScript and drive things. But, you know, that's not where we are. But if, you know.
Because nothing
Maybe
could possibly go wrong with that, having a designer, put some JavaScript or Lua or other things. And I'm reasonably careful, but I'm paranoid as heck.
No, but that is Unchained Engine 2.0 if it ever became its own standalone thing.
It would be cool. So yeah, that's what I'm working on. I think you folks will love it. Okay, I'll take the next one, then I'll let Andrew take the next two. Ability Builder UI, work in progress. So the new Ability Builder is looking great.
You can't see it though.
Yeah, we're teasing, but it is looking great. I think you folks will really like it, and if you don't, well, this is still version 1, so we'll be happy to change it and improve it based on comments we get, so at least those we agree with, certainly. But it's better than what's in there now. But what's in there now is actually powerful enough for you folks to very easily, create abilities for testing. And just as a side note, that if we do have a test this weekend, it will be IT and alphas only. Because as always, we give the IT folks first look. We've made a call to them already. Now we're going to let the alphas in, and when it gets through you folks, betas will come next. So Andrew, take the next two, please, sir.
Rubble Mania.
Have fun with this one, because you've been putting a lot of effort.
So there've been a bunch of pieces of tech that we've done related to buildings. Did you? Actually, I'm gonna merge in one of these half of number 14. I'm gonna merge in here. So lots of changes related to the building system. We've hooked up networking to building placed objects now, so that online in the game world you can actually not just standalone cube. It's possible to have torches on walls, and that also carries through to Rubble, where you blow up a section of wall that has a torch on it, and then you get a wall with a torch on it falling down, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, Bull is doing something. I don't know if he's signaling for the... he's got the camera on to show the folks in Seattle what's going on here. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead, Andrew.
Colin has pushed through has done a big push on just sort of performance and organization on trying to get client-side performance up, and he's been working on sort of smoothing the transition between a static building and a chunk of rubble. Like right now, you'll notice sometimes when a section falls off a building, the section will appear in the world before or after the section disappears from the original building, and so getting that synced up, very cool. And I've been working on not quite rubble, but performance of doing all the stability calculations on buildings, which is when a building takes damage and we want to know, does it fall apart, is a fairly big boost in just hey, is in the calculations for does this break off yet? And it's also much less it's much more organic, so you'll see cracks that will slowly form doing weird jagged things in a pretty credible simulation of what an actual building would do. So that's a big thing, and I've got one more big performance thing that I'm expecting to come in, which is all the pieces are there, but the pieces need to be rearranged, and then we should really get the performance as well as I know how to make. So it'll either be fast enough, or we'll shrink the buildings, or I will go come up with a new idea. One of those three things is gonna happen.
Not really worrying about it.
So and number 9, animation improvements. This one is I mentioned that last week. I actually gave a specific example of you're running forward, and as you switch from running forward to running backwards and then forward again, you briefly go through this thing where you're at a velocity of 0, and your animation would twitch to your idle for one frame and look like crap. And I kind of acted this out a week or two ago, but yeah, that's fixed, and there's a whole bunch of things like that actually is looking a lot better. We've got some good videos. We'll probably put them on YouTube and link them from the weekly update letter, hopefully.
Hold on, guys. Hey, what's going on outside, guys? Bull, Tyler, what's going on outside?
The clouds just look really different. They're the Mattis clouds.
Oh, yeah, the guy who lost his gig in the White House, right.
They just look really different.
Oh, okay. All right, then I thought something else was happening.
Nothing epic.
Oh, okay. Number 10, work in progress, magic mortars. So yeah, that's the third of the scenario. Of the siege engines that we are going to have for the scenario. They are meant to really be useful in building destruction. Look pretty cool for certainly a version 0.1, and it's a way of getting something else into the game that you folks can use to blow up shit, which is kind of the whole point of the siege scenario. So those are going in, and there's a we call it out now. Maybe I won't call this out, and I'll take it out.
Yeah,
of
let
the
people be
top
surprised.
10. Yeah. So I was going to tell you what one of the cool things about it is, but I think you guys should see it rather than read it.
Yep.
So sorry about that. I should have caught that in the when I was looking at this thing before presentation. Okay, why don't you take the next two, Andrew, since we're talking about VFX and LODs?
A number of technical and art parts of our updated particle and VFX system went in. Things like fixing how particle trails look, and part of the larger client-side VFX work. Last week I set everybody on fire on Hatchery for the weekend. If you happen to jump in there, I've been entirely focused on siege and building stuff this week, but other people have picked up that ball and run with it, and things are just looking better. Tools are a lot better too, and getting better. Also, work in progress continues on characters 2.0 LODs. That was the hand-created LODs, and big pipeline of that, big chunk of that has just been checked off, and it's one of those things where if we're doing it right, you won't notice, but characters in the far distance have like 1/10 as many triangles on them as they did before, which always good for performance in big battles.
So the last two for me, tech item, NPC updates. So we just need to make and need to make our NPCs smarter than rocks. We're almost there. Certainly not where we need to be for the final, but thank God the NPCs are, more useful than they were a number of months ago. So we're going to continue to have them. We need them, obviously, for guards, for castles. We need them for scenario testing. We need them to walk around town. So even though NPCs don't play the same kind of role here that they would in, a PvE MMO, there's still a lot of important things for them to do.
Hey, Mark. I need you to kill me exactly 10 rats. Please?
Oh, I could think of 4 I'd like to kill, but that's a whole nother issue anyway. Before we go down that path, last item for me is mage outfits. So John has been working on the last of the outfits that he has to do, the Vikings. Once he's done, we move it through the pipeline, and eventually, and hopefully not too long, it gets to Ben, so he could put your costumes in the loadouts. So mages are almost there, folks. Costuming, abilities, all of that, and you'll get to play mages. And obviously 3 types of mages, not just one, and also 3 different mage classes. As always, we're a rock paper scissors game, so we're not just mirrored. So when we say we're putting in a new class, that means we're always putting in 3 new classes. And that means, different, obviously, equipment. It means different abilities, and very different abilities, because this is not mirrored. So, while I know one class doesn't sound incredibly exciting, even though it is mages, the fact is it really is 3 different classes. So we're looking forward to seeing you guys get to play them in the game. And with that, the last item, Andrew, take us home.
I just want to say the word moisturizer. Just moisturizer. All right. So number 16, improved shared animations. So with all the characters to work in the background or in the rearview mirror, Scott is moving up, setting up shield spear, one-handed sword animations to use with the new blending stuff, and we'll be able to share way more basic weapon attack animations between characters while still having like their own unique flares and flourishes on that, and cool, looking good. I don't know how many, it's always a question of like how many GIFs can we pack into the update, because like there's a limit on the size of the email we can send out, but we'll try and send you something, or just maybe link something off YouTube.
Exactly. All right, guys, let's do only 15 minutes today. We got a lot of stuff to get done, and we'd like to get out of here before like 10 o'clock.
All right, we're taking some questions. Unknown RH asks, what is the next big hurdle for CSE to move to the next phase of game development?
Well, that's building destruction. I mean, that's the last thing in terms of really big tech. Andrew's called this out before in terms of that's the last piece of super difficult code that we've been working on.
Oh, that's kind of a leaf. Like, that's not even a hurdle to move to the next phase. That's check that off and that's done. I'd say the thing that we're most waiting on before we can build more stuff is taking the scripting we've done for abilities and expanding it a little bit deeper and broader to support Dragon's Web stuff.
Sure, but part of that is, at least from my perspective, I look at things and he said the same thing sometimes, and we go back and forth. This is the beauty of unscripted television, or in this case, live streaming. For me, it's I have to look at things that occasionally would keep me up at night, or things that are really I don't say questionable to deliver, but are difficult to deliver. And the kind of real-time building destruction that we're doing is difficult to deliver. So once that piece is done in a performant way, in a way that looks great, then as far as I'm concerned, based on everything I've heard from Andrew and the team, that's it for tough, technical, these are the things that keep us up at night kind of issues. So for me, that's the next phase, because once that's done, I can say to you with a straight face that we have solved all the big technical hurdles that we thought about either from the beginning or certainly have thought about during the development of the game. So for me, that's when we enter the next phase. But as always, your mileage may vary. His mileage may vary too.
Septica2 asks, will there be classes like Daok Banshees for people with disabilities like only one hand or hit by Parkinson's?
Well, I mean, let's look at Parkinson's. This game is not an action RPG. We've said that right from the beginning. It is a game that is meant to be used with a combination of tab targeting, some direct aiming if you're trying to aim, for example, a siege engine at a specific block on a building. You need to be able to do that. On the other hand, in terms of using one hand, look, the bottom line is this game, again, it's not an action RPG. It's not a game that requires a ton of typing. You can talk to people via voice chat, and that's how the game is being designed. In terms of the Banshee, of course, we do have a race by that name, so little reference there.
Brand asks, was there anything in particular that comes to mind that was a struggle with getting mages fleshed out?
Oh, the ability system. I mean, it's an ongoing thing, as we've talked about, both to make sure that it's always performant, getting all the components that we need entered in. Ben and Anthony have done a tremendous job in getting both the code support we needed and the design support. This is just something that we're always, seeming to Struggle with isn't the correct term, because this wasn't really a struggle. This was just an effort, and we needed a lot of effort and a special effort from Anthony, really to. And I jokingly say Ben's Padawan, because he's done a really good job of looking at Ben, finding out what Ben needs, and making sure that he can either get it done or figure out who needs to get involved to get it done.
Yeah. You know, we rearranged the office to put them right next to each other, in fact, and kicked Max out of his desk. Sorry, I was just talking to Matt before this. Yeah. One thing I will say for mages, I mean, there's a lot of work for abilities and ability scripting in general. The thing that mages take way more off than all the other classes with all their other abilities is the VFX. So those mages in particular pushed VFX harder than any other class.
Which is what we wanted them to do. There's a reason why mages were chosen to go in now, not just because they're cool, and not because I love playing mages, but because they push, you know, us as a team to do more, to think of things that need to be done. It's part of building your own engine, and that's what we're doing.
Lev on the YouTube chat asks, when can we expect to have crafters' needs be equal to the general RVR theme of the game?
I think I know what you mean. So in terms of crafters, obviously we've made an effort already. We're going to make a bigger effort once we get past the siege scenario. We've said from the beginning, Saturday night sieges, all that really, really important. Crafters at this point, less important. We have made a very strong effort actually already with crafters in terms of the UI, in terms of the way everything's constructed on the back end. So what's going to happen next is once we start freeing up some resources from Siege, then we, you know, get some additional resources for crafting. And that means, you know, me, for example, now that I am finishing off the initial prototyping on Sieges, I get to turn my attention right back into crafting. And I think it was one of the items from last week about Christina doing a refactor on how some of the you know, data is laid out for crafting and for the item system, which will make things even easier to work with. So I'm really looking forward to getting back to work on that.
So, of like the crafting that people see right now, the stuff that, you know, all the classes can just do right now, is all of that? How much is any of that going to move to crafters only once we?
Oh yeah, all of it.
Yeah, so
yeah.
You know,
almost all of it will move to crafters.
So what you're seeing is, you know, a lot of that might, you know, you like a lot of crafting is there. It's, you know, just right now where we are in development, it's just we haven't exactly drawn the line, but you know, part of what's going to make crafting special is that other people won't be able to do all the things they can do now.
Oh, that's something I've been very clear about from the beginning. The crafter class, which is something we do want to get in a reasonable amount of time, certainly well before beta 2. At that point, crafting gets turned off from every other class in this manner. We've talked about popcorn crafting from the beginning being available to players, all players. That will be available to all players. But the crafting you're seeing now, you know, the ability to use any material and do all the different phases, that will become crafter only. And at that point, once they become a real class, then they get the same attention as any other class would get. So I think you'll like it a lot.
Robert on the YouTube chat asks, will we see more synergy type equipment from the crafter like the magic mortar? Like Scald plus microphone equals siege concert.
Oh, crap.
Yeah, well done. So, well, were you going to say something?
No.
Okay.
Have they seen the Viking magic mortar yet?
No, they haven't. Maybe they haven't. I forget if it was in the... Hey, Tyler, was the artwork for the Viking magic mortar in already?
Yeah, it was a few weeks ago.
Okay, yeah, so they've already seen it.
Yeah, so it's just a great big horn.
It really is. It's kind of cool. So I'm looking forward to seeing that in the game and stomping on a whole bunch of buildings, you know, with it.
Alrighty. Looking for a good question to end with. Although we're not quite.
No, we're not quite there yet. We've got
Um,
4 minutes before you have to, have that.
All right. Zyruz, are there any plans to have two-handed weapons that are so large that your character has to drag it? I love overly large weapons.
Yeah, no. We've been very clear from the beginning with this game that we're not going for a realistic approach to things, but a more realistic approach. So the super oversized weapons that you see, obviously in Asian games, same with the armor, that's not part of Camelot Unchained. So anything that you have to drag or look so big that there's no way you should be able to lift it is not part of what we want to do with this game.
I mean, there's definitely a place for that. I'd love to do a more graphic novel-y thing someday, but this is, it would not fit.
Nope.
Ladaween asks, have you achieved your hiring goals for engineers? And if not, how close are you?
No, but we're really close. The new engineers we brought in have been doing a really great job. For example, the animation work is done by one of the newest. The other new folks are also doing really well.
He's actually like the 4th newest now.
Is he the 4th?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so he's the 4th newest.
Yeah.
I guess he did come in just before number 3. Okay, timing. No, we're still interviewing. We're still talking to people, but we're awfully close. I mean, we're now.
Yeah, the place where we are still looking are web backend and DevOps, and those are both both the jobs that we could take from outside the game industry. Frankly,
exactly.
Those are not super dev specific. So, if you are a C# web backend hotshot, or you swing around you do that DevOps thing that's like half server admin, half integration with the dev team, and you want to earn glorious crowdfunded indie game studio salaries, give us a call. We're cool.
But the thing is, the good thing for again, from my perspective, is that even though we have been very picky up to now, we get to be even pickier at this point because we do have only a few slots left, and I kind of enjoy that. It means that we're being very careful with people, and hopefully only picking the right people. So it's a nice position to be in. I'm very pleased that we're in that position. Because of the work being done by our newest programmers. Not just one. Plural. They're cheaper by the dozen.
No, they're not.
I know. But that's a line from the Magnificent Seven.
Especially not in Seattle.
I know, but that's a Magnificent Seven line. That's a great film reference. We come cheaper by the dozen. The scene where, Eli Wallach playing the Mexican.
Never actually seen the original Magnificent
Seven.
Oh,
you should.
I saw the remake just a couple weeks ago. But
the original was fantastic, especially for the time. But yeah, that's a line. Forget the character's name who said it, but he says that when Eli Wallach playing the Mexican bandit, Jewish guy from the Bronx, old Hollywood and all that, comes in to the Mexican town, and one of the guys comes out, oh God, what was his name? I can't believe I don't remember the name of the bandit. But he comes in and goes, 3? Oh, there can't be any. Surely you couldn't hire more than 3. And then the guy comes out and goes, we're cheaper by the dozen. So that, now we're on the 5-minute warning. Nice digression, though.
Right.
You really haven't seen the original?
No, never.
Dude.
Like
It's
you said,
great.
cheaper. I thought this was a reference to like the Disney movie
Oh,
with
God.
the 12 kids.
Oh, God. No, that's true. That's a good point. No, it was pure Magnificent Seven. Some great lines in that movie.
Brand asks, will there be any more art team hires after engineer slots are filled?
Potentially. Certainly we're going to be outsourcing for a lot of it, but
Outsourcing and contractors is, yeah.
But if the right person came along, absolutely. We actually have a very, very new person who we hired, because the right person came along. So,
let's see. I'm looking for a good question to end with.
really good question. Calvera. The name of the bandit was Calvera. Lee was Robert Vaughn.
You can't let it go, okay?
No, I can't. You know me. But it was Calvera.
Really good ending question, folks. Still taking candidates. Something.
So is the Democratic Party. So, what are they up to? 13 now?
Fewer than the Republicans 4
Back
years
then?
ago.
Oh, absolutely. I made fun of the Republicans back then. I think
All
it's,
right.
They're cheaper by the dozen.
they certainly are.
I like that just like the mayor of South Bend, Indiana is running for president.
I should run for president.
All right.
I probably have more backers than they
your
do.
question is very long. I'm going to shorten it a bit.
Oh, Treville! Hey, great work. You have been absolutely kicking butt. Just so you know, your name is mentioned in the studio more than any other backer right now. Even Paxa, because of the and Paxa's been just amazing as well. But Treville, your work has really made us all really, really happy. All the Builders Brigade, we thank all of you. But Treville, your name has come up a bunch. So thanks a lot.
Treville88 asks, as the building system is an integral part of the game, affecting rubble and siege systems, what is currently being done on it other than BPOs? It mentions various issues and the never manifested, often teased round building system. I know there have been a lot of priorities lately, but will this be prioritized prior to launch?
So, building subgrids, the biggest, as part of rewriting the whole building stability system, like the original implementation was just entirely tied to being on a square grid. And so the biggest blocker to bringing in subgrids is, the new building connection table stuff that I've done. So that unblocks that. In terms of when that comes online, I would love to do it. I really would. It may be that just doesn't make it, because I would much rather ship the game on time than have that feature, as much as I love that feature.
And sorry, go ahead.
And and unfortunately, the people who are really, really good with the building system are also the people who are like most in demand on a bunch of other systems, which it is what it is.
And it wasn't really a tease. We worked on it. Andrew was able to show it live, but it's just one of those things that is so big of a change that at this point, certainly it is not crucial for launch, and that's our focus here. We've said, and this is actually going to turn into a really good question to end on. We've said for many months that we are only going to focus on getting this game out. It's why we aren't working on another game, why we aren't doing anything other than focusing on Camelot Unchained.
Like standalone cube has been neglected.
Exactly. We are focusing on getting CU out for you folks. It would be easy for us not to, quite frankly. Do other things, sell castles, not spaceships, in order to distract and to bring in more money. But we're not doing that. We are focused on just getting this game out as quickly as possible, and still maintaining quality, of course. We're not cutting. We're not doing anything like that. When I say get the game out as quickly as possible, I mean the damn game. I mean what we have told you folks we're going to deliver. Not a game that's, got an MVP or a soft launch or anything like that. We're focused on getting the game out. The one you've been waiting for, in some cases for quite a while.
And getting it out before Bloodlines 2.
Well, that's his thing now. I knew nothing about. By the way, I didn't even know that. That was confirmed until actually today. But
people were noticing your shirt, by the way.
Yeah, I went home at lunch and put it on just for this.
So that's our focus, folks.
This is just my cup all the time, though.
that's our focus, folks. We really do want to get this game out as quickly as possible. We're not sitting here. We've never sat here and adopted that more cavalier attitude. Yes, we'll take the time. We've always said that. And we're still taking our time. But you can do that and still be focused on getting the game out quickly by not doing other things. And we're not doing those other things.
So, actually, I want to end on a story. So,
Okay.
Troika Games, the studio that did Bloodlines, was like this beautiful little artist colony that could never quite succeed as a business. And the lead scripter from Bloodlines, a guy named Brock, who's now like I think like lead engineer or something at Turtle Rock on Evolve in their new VR game, just put a jar on his desk and said, any designer who comes and asks for new scripts that aren't bug fixes has to put money in this jar. And the amount of money in the jar went up like every day, and as we were getting towards launch. And then about 2 weeks before the game was supposed to be launched, one of the main designers, a guy named Chad, who ended up as like super creative lead on WildStar, just walked into the office and just peeled off like a roll of Benjamins and stuck it in the jar and grabbed 2 of the junior scripters and said, "Don't ask questions. I have an idea and it's going in." And 2 weeks before launch. And that unwillingness, and Bloodlines, while it was a cult classic, it was also a horribly broken game. It was a game that, like, you know, like, it was beyond even, like, Bethesda standards of bugs. It was just, and that unwillingness to draw the line and just say, no, this is what we are launching with, and we are not going to add any more good ideas, was why, you know, that was our problem. That was our problem. I've learned, I've matured, and I'm willing to kill features to ship a solid game on time, even if it won't be, you know, the poor cult classic that thrives because of 10 years of fan patches.
And by the way, when he says features, he means new features. We're not adding new features. We've also not said we are cutting, nor have we even said internally we are cutting features. We are not. That is not what he meant. And if it was what he's meant...
No, but spherical buildings are the kind of like, oh yeah, that's a cool idea, but let's finish what we got.
And that's the important takeaway, and that's where we've been aligned. We are aligned, we'll be aligned. There's so much cool shit that I could add to this game as a designer. There really is. There's not a chance. We're staying within the scope, and that's the important phrase. We are staying within the scope of what we laid out for you folks. We may make some changes, we may make some alterations. You've known about the ones we have made, but so far, all the foundational principles are happily intact. Everything that we said was important to us is happily intact, and we intend it to be that way. So whether it's spherical buildings or even things I would like to do for sieges that weren't part of the original design, not going to do it. As much as I might want to, not going to do it. We have an obligation to you folks to deliver the game and not to delay delivering the game. And as always,
we're going to have a bunch of bugs from something that someone shoved in because they had a cool idea at the last minute.
Yeah, not going to do that. So with that, look, we will keep you posted about a test this weekend. We certainly want to do a test this weekend. Lots of abilities to test, lots of things to break, new breakage. We will keep you informed. We will have an update going out this evening, and there's also other good stuff in that. And hopefully I'll see you all tomorrow or Sunday. Don't know which day yet. Hopefully I will be there for some of it, like I usually am. So with that, and as always, I want to thank you all for your support. Or did you have something to add?
No.
Oh, for your support. I want to thank you for your patience, and we'll see you soon, either in the weekend test or early next week, depending on whether we nail this last bug or not, especially when we nail the AMD issue. So have a good weekend. Be safe. And hopefully some of you who are in climates like this can see a thunder lightning snow like we just had, because it was cool.
See you later.